Hello, and thank you for joining us for another episode of Curious Cat Crime Sunday. This is Shelby and Olivia, and today's episode is going to be on John Leonard Orr, the American arsonist. John Leonard Orr was born April 26, 1949. He is an American former firefighter, novelist, convicted arsonist, and mass murderer. Orr was a fire captain and an arson investigator for the Glendale Fire Department in Southern California. He was convicted of serial arson and 4 counts of murder, and in 1980s and 1990s, Los Angeles was plagued by a series of fires that cost millions of dollars in damage and claimed 4 lives. Orr was found to be the cause of those fires. During his arson spree, Orr had several nicknames: the Pillow Pyro, due to the location of the fire inside shops, and the Firo Bandito, and the Coin Tosser. Orr's modus operandi was to set fires using an incendiary timing device, usually comprising of a lit cigarette with 3 matches wrapped in a ruled yellow writing paper, and secured by a rubber band. The stores while they were open and populated. He also set small fires, often in grassy hills, in order to draw firefighters, leaving fires set in more congested areas unattended. He would then be part of the firefighting crew that investigated these fires. On October 10, 1984, in South Pasadena, California, a major fire broke out in Olds Home Center hardware store, located in a shopping plaza. The store was completely destroyed by the fire, and 4 people were killed: a 2-year-old child, the child's 50-year-old grandmother, a 26-year-old mother of 2, and a 17-year-old employee. On the following day, arson investigators from around Southern California converged on the destroyed store and declared that the cause to be an electrical fire. However, Orr, as an arson investigator, insisted the cause was arson. Orr was corrected, of course, because he had set the fire ablaze. Speculating has been that he wanted his work to be recognized. Investigators showed that the fire was deliberately started in a highly flammable polyethylene product, which caught fire very quickly, causing the fire to flash over very rapidly. This, sadly, does not mean that the death of the 4 victims was rapid. Even at trial, Orr showed no remorse for the utter disregard for not only the lives he took, but the times he destroyed as well. In January 1987, a convention for arson investigators from California was held in the city of Fresno. During and after the convention, several suspicious fires were set in Bakersfield. This, combined with the recovery of a single unmatched fingerprint left on a piece of notebook paper as part of the time-delayed incendiary device, led Captain Marvin G. Casey to the Bakersfield Fire Department to suspect that an arson investigator from the Los Angeles area was responsible for the arsons. During March 1989, another series of arsons were committed along the California coast in close conjunction with the Convention of Arson Investigators in Pacific Grove, California. By comparing the list of attendees from the Fresno Conference with the list of attendees from the Pacific Grove Conference, Casey was able to create a short list of 10 suspects. Orr was on Casey's short list, but everyone on the short list was cleared of suspicion when the fingerprints were compared with the fingerprints that Casey had recovered from the notepad paper found at one of the arson crime scenes. Orr's fingerprint did not match. In late 1990s to early 1991, another set of fires broke out in Southern California, the time in and around the Los Angeles metropolitan area. As a result, a large task force named the Pillow Pyro Task Force, a reference to the fires being set in pillows, was formed to apprehend the arsonist. On March 29, 1991, Tom Campazzuno, excuse me if I said that wrong, of the Los Angeles Arson Task Force circulated a flyer at a meeting of a fire investigation regional strike team, otherwise known as FIRST, an organization formed by the group of smaller cities in and around Los Angeles County that did not have their own staff of arson investigators. The flyer described the modus operandi of the suspect serial arsonist in the Los Angeles area. Scott Baker, the California State Fire Marshal Office, was at the meeting and told Capizzuno about a series of arsons investigated by Casey, and about Casey's suspicion that the perpetrator was an arson investigator from Los Angeles area. Consequently, Capizuno and two of his colleagues met with Casey and obtained a copy of the fingerprint that Casey had recovered, and this time matched it to Orr in April 17th of 1991 with the help of improved fingerprint technology. By cross-referencing the print with a database of all the past applicants for law enforcement posts in Los Angeles County, they discovered that the print was the exact match for Orr's left ring finger. Orr was then investigated and watched for several months. Authority hid a tracking device in his personal vehicle. While leaving a May 1991 fire conference in San Luis Obispo, excuse me if I'm saying that wrong again, California, he discovered the tracking device. Orr rushed to a nearby police explosion range, thinking it was a bomb. The police were alerted by first, and Orr was told the device was a hoax. Orr was never aware of the second tracking device installed in his city vehicle in November. His actions continued to be watched. After Orr was found to be present at another suspicious fire, a federal grand jury handed down the indictment. Orr was arrested on December 4th, 1991, and was charged with arson for a series of fires not related to the 1984 South Pasadena Olds fire. After his arrest, arson investigators began a forensic reevaluation of Ol's fire, the store Ol. They found a highly detailed description for a similar fire in the novel Point of Origin, which tells the story of a fireman who is also a serial arsonist. The book chronicles acts of an arson and bears several striking similarities with the real-life 1984 fire. When questioned, Orr stated the novel was a work of fiction and has not relation to any actual events. Defending his manuscript, Orr expressly stated, and I quote, "The character of Aaron Stiles was a composite of arsonists I arrested." Quote. Among those who covered the trial was award-winning journalist Frank Girodot, who would later collaborate with Orr's daughter, Lori, for a book about the case. After much deliberation, a federal judge in Fresno convicted Orr on July 31st, 1992, of 3 counts of arson, while acquitting him of 2 other counts. Federal Judge Oliver Wagner sentenced Orr to 30 years in prison. Orr maintains his innocence, notwithstanding his subsequent guilty plea on March 24, 1993, to 3 more counts of arson in Los Angeles after reaching a plea agreement and sought his parole from federal prison in 2002. He took the plea deal when it became apparent that he could not afford to mount a defense and stood little chance at trial. By November 21, 1994, state prosecutors in Los Angeles indicted Orr on 4 counts of first-degree murder with special circumstances and 21 counts of arson for a string of fires stretching from 1984 to 1990, so 6 years. The lead prosecutor of the case, Mike Caradell, opted to seek the death penalty. In order to ensure that Orr would spend the rest of his life in prison, he made the off-the-record offer to Orr. If Orr accepted the sentence of life without parole and confessed to all of his acts of arson in open court dating to his youth, Caravelle would take the death penalty off the table. Orr turned the offer down out of hand. A jury in California's state court convicted Orr of all 4 counts charged and all but one of the arson counts in June 25, 1998. The arson count for setting a fire in Warner Bros. Brothers, I'm assuming that's what that is, backlot was subsequently dismissed at the request of the prosecution. When asked to sentence Orr to the death penalty, the same jury split 8 and 4 in favor, and the presiding judge sentenced Orr to 4 concurrent terms of life without parole for the murder, plus an additional 21 years for the prison for arson. The state sentence ran consecutively with his federal sentence for arson. Excuse me. I'm having trouble reading my notes. A California appeals court vacated 9 years of his state sentence on March 15, 2000, finding that burning of the homes of the College Hill blaze had only been incidentally to his objective of starting a bushfire. It left the remaining life sentence untouched, all but assuring that Orr will die in prison. Orr began his state sentence upon his release from federal custody in 2002. Orr is currently serving his life sentence in California State Prison. His name does not appear in the California Department of Corrections inmate database, suggesting that he is being held under an alias. I'm not going to go too much into the aftermath, but one thing I thought was interesting was that some arson investigators and the FBI criminal profilers have deemed Orr to be possibly one of the worst serial arsonists of the 20th century. A federal ATF agent believed that Orr set nearly 2,000 fires between 1984 and 1991. Furthermore, arson investigators determined that after Orr was arrested, the number of bushfires near the foothill area decreased more than 90%. That is crazy. Anyways, thank you very much for joining us for another episode of Curious Cat Crime Sunday. I hope you have a great Sunday and a great week ahead of you. Thank you very much, and we will see you next week.